Talk to me about this concept of present shock. You know, for people that are watching this right now, you know, a lot of what we're talking about might make sense to them, but I don't know if they really understand what they deal with on a daily basis. Like, what's going on from your viewpoint? How has that human experience changed? Because it's a lot like a fish. He doesn't not know that he's in water, right? That's something I ripped from Terence McKenna. But,
who ripped it from Mcluhan?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So, so explain what's going on in like our daily lives for people that don't know, and how their reality is potentially not the reality they think it is, and what's this whole concept of present shock?
Well, present shock was really just present shock is the human response to living in a world without a beginning or end, without cause and effect. You know, where you're under this kind of constant assault of things saying now, 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 and you feel the need to catch up. So present shock is when you open your Twitter feed and say, oh my God, 500 tweets have happened. How am I going to scroll down fast to get to that? I've got to catch up somehow with that. It's the reversal where you think that you need to catch up with your technology, as if your technology is in the now rather than you. So there's a bunch of ways. You know, one way of experiencing present shock is something I call digiphrenia, which is this need to have multiple instances of yourself happening simultaneously. So there's you here now, there's you on Facebook, there's you on Twitter, and something's happening on Facebook in your Facebook account right now. Somebody, you might have said something, who knows, something could be blowing up, you know, because of something I said on this live Facebook feed. Now people could be commenting, oh no, Rushkoff's a racist or something, you know, who knows, because I made some comment that I don't realize is racist, or, you know, or some code for some evil group, or, oh no, you know, and they're all stacking up. So in the back of your head is the sense of I have to maintain all these different me's at the same time. Or what happens to the drone pilot. You know, drone pilots have more PTSD than real pilots. And that's because the drone pilot, I think, he's, you know, bombing people, you know, 1 minute and then going home to his family the next. So he's not really in the battlefield. There's two instances of him. There's the military one and the home one. And how do you reconcile those two things? You can't. So it's really, you know, part of present shock, this desire to break ourselves up into many pieces, is human beings trying to act like computers. You know, computers have random access memory. They break up a problem and put it in many, and they do parallel processing on that problem and then bring all the pieces back together. People can't do parallel processing, you know, but we try to. We try to do this multitasking thing, but we're really just switching in series from event to event to event to event. That's disruptive to our sense of continuity.
Okay, right, because humans can't multitask. Can we say that once and for all?
They really can't.
Thank you. All right, what do we do about this? First of all, most people probably don't know they're in present shock. But say they're listening to us now and they're like, actually, Douglas has a point. My mobile device is constantly panicking me into all these different states, to be concerned about maybe different me's on different platforms.
Right.
More importantly, to be concerned about thousands of situations around the world that I'm supposed to be invested in. I got to be invested in Rwanda and China, and now London because of the London Bridge, and now this congressman that got shot, and I'm emotionally drained. What can they do to get their present back?
I mean, two things. One is realize that digital technologies are asynchronous. They're not in real time. You know, that's what we realized back on the bulletin boards like the Well or Usenet. What you would do is you'd plug into the computer, you would download the conversation, you would unplug from the net, you'd read the conversation, you'd spend hours coming up with a paragraph and then upload it. You would sound, you know, so smart in that conversation because you leverage time.
Okay.
You know, then we decided we'd make more money if we strap these devices to people and have them ping us every time someone updates you or Facebooks you or tweets about you, so you live in this state of kind of perpetual emergency interruption where you're trying to constantly catch up and keep up rather than be at home in real time. You're trying to keep up with all that. That's that sense of present shock. So one is to use the technology in an asynchronous way. You go onto it, but then go off of it. Realize that if someone sends you an email, that doesn't deserve a response right away. If someone texts you, it doesn't deserve a response right away. They're not calling you on the phone. They're not ringing you. They're not tapping you and saying, hey. They're taking a message and putting it in your file set. They're putting it on your hard drive. Screw them. I'll get to it when I get to it. You relegated it, the messenger relegated it to an asynchronous space. Why do I have to treat that asynchronous space as if it's on? It's not. You put something in my mailbox. I'm not getting my mail this second. I'm going to get it when I'm done urinating. Thank you very much. So there's that. And then all of a sudden, when you're doing technology in your own time rather than in its time, you're in command. The second thing you can do is try to reacquaint yourself with the mechanisms that human beings have had to moderate their time. You know, the ones we evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, the kinds of stuff Joe Rogan will talk about, right? You know, look outside occasionally. Know whether it's night or day to start. That's a real great start. Is it daytime or nighttime? Then know what phase of the moon you're in. You know, if you know what phase of the moon you're in, if you go outside enough to at least look at the moon, you know, once a night, or then what that does is it tells your body, am I in the first week of the lunar cycle, the second week, the third week, the fourth? And when your body knows that, you actually do different things. In the first week of a lunar cycle, you tend to release acetylcholine. The second week, you release serotonin. The third week is dopamine. The fourth week is norepinephrine. These are very different neurochemicals which engender different states of mind. And ancient cultures, Aboriginal cultures, indigenous cultures understood how the moon worked. That's why they would have a party during dopamine week. It's dopamine week. They get work done during serotonin week. They start projects in acetylcholine. You know, so when you they didn't know about dopamine and serotonin, but they knew. Even the people, the woodcutters of Europe, the ancient ones understood. Depending on what phase of the moon you cut the tree down in, its pores are going to be open or closed, and the wood's going to dry out faster or slower, and it's going to warp more or less. So they understood these sort of biodynamic processes. And when you reconnect with some of your evolved chronobiological rhythms, you end up so much more grounded, so much more together.
Right. And why am I, as a human, affected by the moon? Why does that affect my state? Is it just another thing that we don't yet know about our own human organism, of why it triggers all these different chemicals in my
Why
brain?
do women have periods every moon cycle? You know, it's because...
So we should stop trying to figure out why and
well,
just
we
accept it and
because
use it.
Our glands, our endocrine system needed ways of measuring time. So it measured time by the cycles that were around the organism.
Okay, and that was something that gave us like a 30-day time frame as opposed to a 24-hour time
Right.
frame, which was the sun.
That's why jet lag, people didn't even, so here I'm talking about chronobiology and moon rhythm. People laugh, right? Some scientists, some medical doctors go, oh my God, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to come up with something like this cycle. It seems kind of off topic from what
you
we
would
talk about.
think, but they made the same critique of jet lag. You know, it wasn't until really sabermetrics, when Major League statistics started to show that pitchers that went from the East Coast to the West Coast did worse than pitchers going from the West Coast to the East Coast, that they went, oh, I guess this jet lag thing is real.
Interesting.
You know, and now we're understanding that jet lag isn't even you. Jet lag is the bacteria in your body that get all disoriented. You know, because now we know we're 98% bacteria and like 2% human, you know, because of all these, gut biome kind of stuff. So it's the bacteria which have really short life cycles. They're the ones who get all confused by, sunlight and the change in the day cycle.
Right, and that's what freaks us out. All right, so we need to get back in touch with being human, right?
Why
This
not?
is a bit of a theme here, right?
Because it hasn't been that long that we've been disconnected.
Right.
Our organisms haven't had time to evolve and catch up.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.